Hello there everyone, so today I'm opening up another ScrawlrBox, just one in this case, and this is January's box, so the most recent one at the time of recording. So let's just dive right in, shall we? So I'm very curious to see what's going to be in this. First of all, this looks very nice. I like this a lot. This is the scene. We have the print, pretty cool as well. I love the color scheme. We have the paper. So this is a mixed media paper. Interesting. We get 10 sheets. That is, oh wow, that is very thick. Interesting. So what are the actual materials? This is the sticker, really cute. Definitely from that Art on the Scene. I really like this. This is very nice. The sweet tango cherry sour fizz chew bar. So I do like chew bars. I've never tried this specific flavor, and I also do like sour things. So I guess we'll have to see what that's like. Right. So we get a pencil first of all. Just a regular. It's an H regular pencil. We get a micron. What's the size of this? Oh wow, that's hard to get up. That is really thick. Wow. Does it say what thick? 0.7. Okay, that's actually not as thick as I thought it would be. It looks thicker than that. Anyway, what is this? Pigment deco brush. What are these? Okay, they look like markers of some sort, but what kind of markers is the question. So we get that color scheme. I really like that. What do we have? Opaque color system, acrylic permanent ink, flexible brush nib. Water-based, non-toxic, suitable for most surfaces, easy color blending. So those are the materials. Now, I think we just need to swatch them a little bit. So let's get a piece of paper. So let's see. I'm guessing we don't really need to swatch the pencil, but go on then, why not? It's a pencil. This I'm kind of curious about, to see how thick it actually is to work with. It's a 0.7. Pretty nice that. So I think we just need to try these, don't we? That's like the main thing in the box. So straight away, they're not markers that you have to activate. Obviously you can really do that with the brush pens anyway. You can't go like that. So they're already ready. Wow. Oh, that looks nice. That is very solid and opaque. I might just kind of swatch them all and then also let them dry and then see how they work over each other and make the blending and things like that. They smell a little bit, but nothing major. I really like the color scheme as well. It's so bright and happy. It just makes me think of a sunrise. Let's see if we can blend a little bit while it's wet. I'm guessing that basically like blending paint a little bit, just in marker form. You get a nice blend there. Obviously, doing it while it's wet. I do wonder how long. They're actually already dry. Okay. So you don't have a long time. That's quite nice, that. So you definitely can blend, but you do have to work a little bit quick. That is already dry, those ones. Okay, so let's see. Layer over each other. Let's try this over the yellow. Yep, that's completely opaque. Let's try the yellow over the brown, which is the darkest. Oh, that's a little bit more see-through. So you can see the brown through, but maybe if you go over it a few times, actually that reactivated the brown, that. So I wonder whether that's just how they work, that they kind of get reactivated, or you just have to let them dry longer. I will say as well is when you go over an area multiple times, it does seem to rip up the paper a bit. So I think they are best for flat color and then just slight blending. While we're here, let's just try the liner on top of these just to see, because sometimes if you go with liner on top of a material it can kind of obstruct the liner a little bit, but this seems to work just fine, as if you're just doing it straight on the paper. It's not kind of clogging up the liner or anything. Right, that works perfectly. So that is very interesting, pretty different. I've never, like I said, seen these before, and I certainly haven't tried them. But I guess it's time to see if I can use them in some way and come up with something. So I started out being pretty optimistic because of the swatches, because they had that really lovely coverage and it was very even and also pretty juicy. So I was pretty optimistic, like I said. Now it turned a little bit different when I started using them. So what I'm doing is I basically wanted to cover the whole paper with the markers, and I'm starting from the middle. So I want to create like a bit of a gradient. So I'm starting with the yellow, which is the lightest one, and then I'm going on to the orange one after, then the red, and then the brown on the outer edges. And at first it was going fine, and the yellow one seemed to be fine as well, but then when I moved on to other ones, it started showing a bit of an issue here and there. So for instance, with the orange one here, after a bit, they started feeling really dry, which I found very strange because I wasn't expecting that. And I was a bit, it's not already running out of paint or anything, is it? But it wasn't, because it kept working. It just started feeling really dry, and you also will be able to see that on the paper in certain places. So the only thing I could try and do was shake it to see if it would reactivate a bit, because obviously you can't pump it like you do with some paint markers because it has the brush tip instead of a bullet nib. So all I could do was try and shake it, and it didn't really seem to do anything. So the orange one here started feeling really dry, even though it wasn't running out. Plus I barely used it, so obviously it shouldn't be either. So I found that a little bit odd. And it turns out it also did it with the other ones, so with the red one and the brown one. And also when I was swatching them, it came out really nice and even. But I also found that when I was actually using them, they came out a little bit more streaky, especially the brown one turned out a lot streakier than it did when I was swatching them. But I still like the markers, they work differently than I expected when I actually used them, then I just swatched them. So yeah, anyway, I'm starting there in the middle with the yellow and kind of making an oval circle, and then I'm doing an orange area around that, also oval, and making it bigger, and then I'm trying to kind of blend them together. I also found the blending more difficult when I was actually using them than when I was swatching them. So that was a little frustrating as well. They didn't really blend that well when I was actually using them, so that was a bit difficult. But anyway, moving on to the red one. Again, like I said, I'm moving outward in the gradient, so my aim was to then make kind of a red oval area around the orange one, and then also try and blend them together. And again, the red one also started getting really dry as I was using it, even though it wasn't running out, because like I said, they kept working. They were just really dry to use. I did start thinking at one point whether I was using them too fast, so my strokes were too fast. But at the same time, that's just kind of how I work, and I think a lot of people do. And it's weird if you can't use them like that. So that was a little bit odd, and don't really know what to do with that. And then I'm trying to blend the orange and the red one, which also was a bit more difficult than it was on the swatch, but I still managed to get a decent blend, but not as nice as I wanted to. But it still turned out alright. And then like I said, the brown one here I'm doing on the outer edges, and that one got way more streaky than I thought it would. So you'll be able to see here when I do some strokes, it's just way streakier than it was when I swatched it. So that was a little bit odd as well. Now I'm sure you could go over it again and layer it more, and you'll kind of get rid of a lot of those streaks, but I didn't really want to do that because that would use a lot of the paint, and this is just a little kind of fun piece. It's nothing special or nothing important or anything. So I'm just doing this kind of background of color because my thought was I wanted to do this gradient, and then I'm going to be using the liner on top of them, creating trees or silhouettes of trees, all pointing towards the middle. So it's going to be like you're standing at the bottom of a forest with no leaves on them and looking upwards kind of into the sky, which has got this yellow, orange, red gradient going out to the darker with the brown, and then you get this kind of perspective. So that was my aim. So just a little bit of a play around with them, and at first it just looks a little bit weird and not too great, I think, with just the markers. I do think when I added the trees with the liner, it definitely helped and turned into something nicer. I still am not that pleased with how the markers turned out on the paper, but I guess it could also be the way I'm using them, I'm not really sure. So I still like the markers though. I just need to see if there's a different way to maybe use them. But anyway, I then start to use the liner here to create those trees that I said, the silhouettes of the trees. So some of them are just going to basically be kind of straight and pointing straight into the middle there in like a straight line to a point, and then some of them I'm adding some branches and some life, so there's a bit of a feeling that it's more trees and just kind of straight lines. So, and it's just to kind of give that perspective where everything is facing into the middle. So I do like how it ended up with that effect. So, and like I said, I really love these colors of the markers, so that's a plus. They're very bright as well. I just need to maybe try and figure out a better way of using them, or maybe they're better for kind of smaller areas and flat colors and things like that, like I think most paint markers typically are. But anyway, that's just a first try anyway. So yeah, that's basically the basic concept of what I was doing. Just a little fun piece, I guess, to test them out and use the colors. It was colors that kind of inspired me to do this because I wanted that gradient, almost a bit sunrise or sunset like. So yeah, that's the final piece, just a fun little almost doodle, you could say. But yeah, I also did another piece off camera. I didn't record that, so it was inspired by the actual scene. and the colors themselves, because they just made me think of fire as well. So the other piece was basically inspired by the leaves on the scene in the same way, but then just layers of flames instead. And obviously I used the colors to kind of create the flames, and then again drew on top of that with the liner. So that's just a little piece I did off camera. Anyway, I did enjoy using them. I enjoyed this box. They were lovely markers, just need to figure out a way of using them. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.